Video number 3, joining pentatonic positions 1 and 2 together. We're going to start with a quick jam where I'm going to emphasize slides using those two positions we just mentioned and give you an idea. And you got an idea there of some of the slides that you can expect to be learning. But to recap, first of all, let's make sure you know position 1, position 2. I'm going to quickly play through them just to make sure you know them, and then we can get on with the main study. Okay, if you're looking at diagram 1 on your PDF file, let's print it out. Remember the scale here, starting at fret 5. Everything's in the key of C major, A minor. Position 1 should sound like this. And descending as well. And then position 2 is going to look and sound like this. Now the main fun kicks in with diagram number 3, where it says combining diagram 1 and 2. Now you'll notice there's highlighted notes in diagrams 1 and 2, sort of a darker color. And you'll notice that those highlighted are common to both positions 1 and position 2. For example, now if I play position 1, that note, that note, that note, and so on are the same as this note in position 2. That note, that note, that note, etc. So what I'm trying to say is that these notes here, these are the dark notes starting from fret 8, the highlighted notes in your diagram. Those notes there are common to this scale and to this scale. Okay, so they're common. And that means that they both actually have the same notes. In other words, they're the same key. And the most important part, they're interchangeable. Now, positions 1 and 2 are really important as well, because if you look at the next part, which is why positions 1 and 2, you'll notice that these two actually allow you to cover over half your guitar neck. That's the highlighted green part, and the red is the part that we haven't covered yet. Now, as you go into the different exercises, you want to be able to change fluently from this scale, position 1, for example, to position 2. Now, one way to get used to this transition, here's a nice exercise for you to pay attention, and I want you to try it so you get used to crossing backwards and forwards between the scales. For example, you can start on the 6th string, fret 5, and you're starting position 1, and then you can see there, I've crossed over from position 1 using a slide to position 2, and then continue the scale. I could have done the same from the 4th string. And there's my transition again. Nice smooth slides. I didn't have to pick the last note as well. I could have just done this, depending on the technique and sound I'm going for. But the important part is you can link them. What I want you to do is getting used to going up the scale and crossing over at each string. So the next one we haven't covered is the 3rd string. So it would sound something like this. Going up position 1, there's the 3rd G string, and you've slid up to position 2, and you continue your scale shape. Then you do position 2, or string 2 rather. So we're getting used to interchanging. Now that was just ascending. If you want to go descending, you could try something like this. And there you can see we step back. You could also do the slide on the 3rd finger, depending where you think the slide sounds best. But the important part is that they are interchangeable. Your techniques, you can obviously apply as you want. That defines your own unique style. And you can see how nice the slides are. All those techniques you wouldn't be able to employ for some really cool rock runs. They actually work for metal as well, just by the way, so they're not necessarily for blues or for pop or for rock, anything like that. We'll do a bit of a hard rock demo for it later. But first of all, exercise number 1 is that you want to be able to play through from position 1 to position 2 and do the crossover on each and every string. And again, just to revise, the crossover is the transition from the first position to the second position. And you come back, maybe you try a different string. So you can cross over different strings as well. Very nice exercise. Now, there's a whole lot of did you knows on your PDF as well, like these two shapes, the last axis. That's what we just mentioned earlier about the green and the red in the diagram above that. And then also to validate that you're covering over sort of half of the guitar neck. Remember what we said about fret 12 in the earlier videos. Everything from fret 1, everything from as low as here gets repeated from there. So the open is the same as 12. Fret 1 is the same as fret 13. So that means now, if I had a 22 fret guitar, for example, maybe I should stop around quickly, but anyway, I could start here and I could slide across to my other positions as well. I'm just going to quickly swap guitars just to show you that. Okay, guitar has been swapped, and you can see now, fret 17, you've got an extra fret there. Now, just for by the way, you'll notice that if you've got a Mexican strat and some of the Jap strats, they've normally only got 21 frets, where the USAs and some of the Japanese have got 22. And luckily, all the new Mexican player series are also coming through with 22 frets. So I just want to show you now back to the purpose of this, is you can take position 1 from fret 17 and cross over now to fret 22, and you've got the same thing. It's a bit high up on the guitar neck, but obviously as your keys go on, it will sort of unfold itself. Now, position 2, just to revise the whole thing over here, we're going to go back to working on the guitar neck. This is position 1 of the minor pentatonic, and position 2. Okay, we'll later learn positions 3, 4, and 5. And then also very, very important as well is you want to know that they're related. In other words, they both have the same keys. And we're going to fast forward this quickly to point number 8 under Did You Know? It says below is a basic chart listing the major and minor related scales. For example, C major has got the same notes as A minor. So if I'm playing the A minor pentatonic and I go to position 2, that is in effect actually the minor equivalent of the major scale, but we'll get back into, or the pentatonic equivalent of the major scale rather, that's a better way to say it, because it's position 2 of the minor, which is actually the pentatonic version of the major scale. That's much better worded. Okay, so in essence, this is your major, because it has a major interval, and this is your minor, which is a minor interval, but the keys are still the same note content, so they're interchangeable. Okay, and then as you go through there, you'll see that each major key, for example, D major, has got a B minor pentatonic. So if I do B minor, and then I go to D for position 2, which we said actually is the pentatonic equivalent of the major. I can interchange the two of them as well. So what I'm emphasizing over here is using the slide, the transition between the positions, and that's the main purpose or goal of this video, to know that you can link these two together. And then we're going to look at some pretty cool exercises as well to develop riffs, and then the second video is going to be the jam tracks. Okay, so let's do some riffs now. And we onto your second page of the PDF file saying exercises to join the positions. Now the first one's got a bit of a nice timing sort of phrasing to it. Your first bar should sound like this. Ooh, made a mistake there. There we go. Second phrase. Third phrase. And you'll notice that your finger positioning changes every time you go through the exercise. So I'm going to come a bit more closer here so you can watch the finger notation as we're going through, and then we're going to slow it down so you can see the slides. Here we go. Notice the pause between the second last note and the last note. Next bar. And And then it says complete yourself. So I want you to work out the last bar, which will obviously start fret 8 on the second string. That's your clue. And then if you can finish it through. That's exercise 5-1. Okay. Exercise 5-I is going to sound like this. Nice double stops there. You can actually even let these two notes ring. I'll show you now which two. You can let them ring as well. Let those two ring. And it gives a nice little blues vibe. Or you can go for single note, depending what you want to go for. And like we said, you can use it for rock as well. So if you use a little bit of overdrive, it can sound pretty sweet as well. Always cool to have some vibrato at the end. Now for the next exercise, 5-I, we're going to switch guitar again. And the reason I'm bouncing backwards and forwards to guitars is one of these is a Mexican and the other one is a Japanese. See if you can tell me which one's which, but that's just for the fun of it to hear the instruments. Okay. I hope you're going to enjoy these riffs as well. They're quite user-friendly. They work well for rock, metal, pop, blues. And here's riff I. And the trick over here is, now I'm going to show you what they call sort of hybrid picking. Some call it chicken picking. It's a sort of a combination between your plectrum use and your middle finger here. Check this out. I'm plucking the third string with my pick, and I'm plucking the second string with the middle finger. So if I zoom out of it over here and I try and get both left and right hands in, we're going to do something like this. There's my fingers on 7 and 8 on exercise 5-I. We're going to pick them both and we're going to slide like that. Then come back to slide back as well. So it's a slide up and a slide back. One pick, 3 notes. And once you've done that, you pick it again and then double 5. But you can see that finger working, that sort of combination, and that's quite cool because you can actually expand the scale to something like a. So it's a nice little exercise that you can actually evolve your phrases from this. Exercise 5IV. Now what's interesting with the pentatonic is when you're playing strings 2 and 1 in the key of A minor, C major, you'll notice the 2 notes underneath each other. Same there. So you can capitalize quite cool one finger phrases like this, which is similar to 5-I, but now only one finger. And then again, like we said as well, using that sort of hybrid picking combination or chicken picking, you can get this finger inside there and do something like this, which is quite nice for a blues. And you can see that middle finger kicking in. Nice technique to get into. Exercise 5V, we're now going to combine 5-I and 5IV, and we're going to get something like this. It sounds quite cool if you combine them. Slow motion, a bit closer, so you can see the fingers going there. There's the double 8. Slide back, and then you play the double 8 again, and then you jump across to the 8-7. Slide that up. And on a double 5. So one more time. You got that. And exercise 5VI is using diagram 4 below. Now what's interesting over here is that you can actually combine those two scales and find a similar finger notation or finger sequence. So the tab shows us, if you play the exercise, something like this. And what I want us to notice there is that we only used fingers 1 and 3. Okay, so there's no fourth fingers, no middle fingers, and everything was a tone apart. One more time. And that is basically the highlighted notes in diagram 4, which is quite cool because if we add a little bit of overdrive, for example, and a few hammer-ons and pull-offs, we can get something like this slow motion. If you put speed to it, so you can get a lot of very easily accessible speed if you can recognize finger sequences or finger repetition patterns. We'll see you video number 2 now for the backtracks, and enjoy. Thank you.